Okay, hello, welcome to another Smite video. Today we're going to be talking on the subject of Ranked. The gameplay in the background is going to be Sun Wukong from Solo. This is the first 15 minutes of a casual game. So, let's talk about Ranked and my experience over about 80 odd games. My experience so far has been, well, pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't enjoyed Ranked, and I think Rank is deeply flawed based on the playtime I've had so far. So, what's the biggest problem with Ranked? Quite simply, Ranked currently suffers from a very small player base, especially on PS4, where still the matchmaking seems to be very badly weighted, and plus as well deeply flawed. One of the biggest problems I believe currently is the qualifying system. The qualifying system allows you to inflate your elo and division you're going to get eventually placed in. This, in my view, is one of the biggest problems. Mainly because it means that if people get extremely lucky early on, they can move up divisions very, very quickly. Whereas if you get unlucky with bad teammates, then you're basically stuck down the bottom. Another problem with the system currently is the following. It is based on your performance overall and your teammates' performance. If your teammates and you do very badly early on, say in the first 20 or so games, you are faced with a massive grind upwards, based on the number of points required to move up the ladder. Currently, Smite has two systems at play when it comes to the matchmaking, which is the tribute point system, which is how the game decides which division you're going to be placed in or league. And then the game has a matchmaking ranking system as well. Or to put it another way, there is a point system, which is where you will be placed when it comes to divisions, and then there's a system on top of that which then tries to decide if or not your team is an equal skill or on non-equal skill to you, and where your skill level is in comparison to everyone else. The matchmaking ranking system basically is the same system that chess players use. If you beat a grandmaster and you're an amateur, you gain more points. If you beat someone equal skill level, you gain, say, 10 or so points, as opposed to just getting a flat number. So, one of the biggest problems with the current system is pretty simple, as I just described it. If, for example, you inflate your elo and division, then you get placed in a much higher division at the start, and then you have an advantage over someone else. Where still, based on the number of points required to move up the minor leagues, at the moment it's 100, you have to win something like 10 or so games based on an equal matchup without losing any games. If you lose a game, then you go down number of points. This makes it incredibly grindy, where still each division currently at the lower end has 5 divisions in total. There's Bronze 5 and then there's Bronze 1. This is one of the biggest complaints I have with the current system. It's incredibly difficult to move out of the bottom league, and it's incredibly grindy. In my opinion, it should be a lot lower when it comes to the number of tribute points required to move up the system. So something like, I don't know, 5 for Bronze 5, and then for Bronze 4, something like 10 tribute points, and then 25, etc., etc. Doing that, in my view, would be one way of fixing the current system. It would enable players that have good win streaks to move up the ladder very quickly, and players that do okay to move up the ladder slightly quicker. You can make it so it's 100 tribute points, say for example at gold or silver, but before then it's less than 100 tribute points required for promotion. One of the biggest problems as well with the current system is the fact that the matchmaking ranking is not known and made available to the player. Instead, you're just given the tribute point system, which is incredibly difficult to work out where you are in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the overall ladder. I understand why Hi-Rez has done the following, but I don't like it. That is, the matchmaking will pair you with people that are completely out of your division and matchmaking ranking score. What I mean by this is I've played a couple games being a silver 5 versus platinums 5s. I'm sorry, but this is quite frankly unacceptable, especially when they have something like 200 games versus my 80 games in total. The game should never, 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 in my opinion, pair people of such disparity together at all. I understand why they do this, because if they don't at the current player base level, then you would never find a match, or it would be very, very slow. But it's still a very horrible matchmaking system, and I think they should not allow it, period. I understand why they have done it though, but I do think it is a deeply flawed system, and they should put quite frankly, a flat and hard requirement which disallows it from ever happening. I understand that this is actually in place, but based on my experience so far, it has happened a couple times, and quite frankly, it is deeply frustrating and annoying. There's also another point made here. I've played a couple games being a silver, in which I've played with people that are qualifying, and well, quite frankly, it's awful when your teammates are qualifying and have no idea what they're doing. This, again, needs to be solved, just like going against players that are too high of a level. So, there's a couple things to take note of when it comes to the current system being used. In my view, it is deeply flawed and needs to be completely redone and reformatted. I understand why Hi-Rez have chosen down this system to a point, but I think it is, again, deeply flawed and incorrect. Unfortunately though, I don't know how to solve this problem, and quite frankly, I'm not an expert when it comes to it, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But based on my experience so far, I can tell you the following. I don't enjoy Ranked. I don't think I'm going to be playing it anymore, further reducing the player base, because quite frankly it's not worth the pain and effort to try and climb up the ladder when I'm being stuck at the bottom due to the fact that the matchmaking is so crap and poor. In my opinion, the matchmaking should have a couple more hard requirements in it that should, well, it is going to slow it down. That is, bronze should play with bronze and silver should play with silver and gold. If a silver wins against a gold, then the silver should automatically go up to gold, etc, etc. Platinum should never play with anyone that's gold or lower, and Grandmaster should never play with anyone else at all. You start to see the point I'm making here. In my view, the entire system should be completely reworked, with the number of tribute points required reduced overall on the board when it comes to climbing up divisions. You can keep the 100 numbers for Grandmasters and make it so that the average matchmaking weighting is something like 20 to 10 down or something, I don't know. But the current problem now is you take 2 steps forward and then you take okay, I've said that wrong. You take 1 step forward when it comes to the tribute point system, and then you get 2 steps backwards based on 1 loss. I really don't like this system. I hate it, I'll be honest with you. It's incredibly annoying, and quite frankly, I don't have the energy or time or even willpower to just grind out ranks just because the matchmaking system has decided to pair me with a set of poor players and be completely unfair to me. Now, I am willing to give Hi-Rez the benefit of doubt, because they have made this game a couple of years ago, so they must have some vague idea what they're doing. Potentially, I don't know. But currently, based on what I've seen so far, I honestly think Hi-Rez needs to revisit this issue, because quite frankly, Ranked on PS4 is a complete and utter joke and should be, well, looked at. I have no willpower or even energy to even bother staying and playing it, based on my experience so far, which is only 80 odd games. But I've played this game enough that I have a vast amount of experience when it comes to the overall game. I've played something like, I don't know, 400 plus games of Casual Conquest and 80 games of Ranked. I'm currently wanting to scratch my overalls out because it's completely horrible. I understand that it's very difficult to make a fair matchmaking system because stats can be inflated, but for the love of God, Hi-Rez, you do need to look at it quite badly, and I think you need to address the fact that the tribute point system and the matchmaking ranking system together are a completely flawed system. Make it at least visible to the public what my current matchmaking rank is, or something. But Hi-Rez need to do at least something because it's a complete joke at the moment. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm completely annoyed at the fact that ranking is, well, awful, and well, I'm completely annoyed the entire system. But there is some good news though. In Ranked, at least people know what they're doing compared to, say, casuals, which is a nice change. However, it's still not worth the pain. One of the bigger problems as well is the fact that there's no sort of reward for Ranked apart from a nice shiny little button. I do believe that if Hi-Rez want players to play Ranked, then there should be a fantasy point increase for winning rank mains or even pacificating in that lobby. What I mean by this is if you play in a ranked game, instead of getting the normal 10 fantasy points, you get 50. This, in my view, would be a smart way of doing it. Maybe you could even make it so that if you win, you get 65 or something on the lines of that. I understand that you shouldn't be rewarding players constantly though, and Hi-Rez are not a charity but a company. So maybe a system in which gives you fantasy points would be the best way forward instead of, say, over skins. Although I do believe Hi-Rez does offer people skins if they get to a certain league, but I'm not too sure on that front. Anyway, there's my opinions on Ranked and why it's, well, broken and flawed and needs to be fixed. I don't think Hi-Rez are going to fix it based on people's feedback from other places. I don't think they're even going to bother looking at it. So this leaves me with a dilemma. Should I play Ranked or should I not play Ranked? Honestly, I'm considering not playing Ranked at all, even though I've only played a very short number of matches so far. I don't want to do this because I do enjoy the competitive aspect of Ranked, but quite frankly, it's really not worth it, and it's just a stressful nonsense that, quite frankly, is deeply flawed, and I have no interest in pursuing it at the moment. I understand that Hi-Rez are game developers, and well, I'm just a random voice on the internet, but they do need to address this, in my opinion, and I think they need to do it sooner over later, especially if they want the console ranked community to thrive. I understand that Xbox does have its own ranked player base, but that is completely small and tiny. As for the rank requirements, which is something I've seen a lot of people complain about, mainly saying that their rank requirement should be reduced, I don't think that should be the case. Although, if you do reduce the rank requirements, then more players can enter into the matchmaking pool, so there is sense in that regard. However, based on my experience so far, the requirements literally are the bare minimum, and even then, are completely tiny in comparison to a lot of other things. You have to be level 30, you have to have a number of gods mastered due to the banning system. So, there you go. I don't think Hi-Rez has deliberately created a flawed system. I just think they indeliberately created it based on watching what other games had done, mainly League of Legends. Based on the knowledge I understand, League of Legends has a very similar system and has a much larger player base, which I think is one of the reasons why it works on League of Legends as opposed to Smite, which has a substantially smaller player base. So, okay. That's a lot of talking, wasn't it? For people who are curious, if I will be making more videos, especially on Ranked, I don't know. Because quite frankly, as I said earlier, I don't know if I can actually be bothered to play more Ranked, because at the moment I have no desire or interest to carry on playing it based on my experience so far. Have fun and try and enjoy Ranked yourself. You might have a different experience, but my experience so far has been quite toxic and, well, negative, and I wouldn't recommend you do play Ranked. That's just me. That's sad. But, okay, so how to fix Ranked? Quite simple. I'll make it so qualifiers don't actually count, and instead is the game trying to measure how good you are, and wouldn't be weighted toward your final score. What I mean by this is qualifiers would literally just be you qualifying to play more ranked games against people in that division. So, say for example you won, I don't know, 10 games out of your qualifier matches, you would immediately get put into Bronze 1, the highest bronze group out of them all, but I would make it so your matchmaking ranking is the same. I would then make it as well so that the number of divisions within Bronze is lower, and the required TP is lower when it comes to moving up and down those divisions. So, for example, to move up from the lowest bronze group, you would need 5 TP. To move up from the highest bronze group, you would need 15. I would do this all the way up until about gold. In fact, I would completely change how many divisions is across every single board, making it so gold is about the average zone for players as opposed to bronze. But then again, that system is slightly flawed, but the point still stands. I'd make it so that the TP required is a lot less compared to what it is currently now, which is about 100, and you can currently lose about 25 to 25 either way, which in my opinion is slightly ridiculous. Okay, other changes I would do. I would make it so that you cannot play against people that are of a much higher division compared to yourself. Say for example, bronze versus gold players. I would completely remove this from the game. I would make it so that it's not possible to do. Instead, the highest bronze players can go against the lowest silver players, and that'd be it. That's how I would do the system, and I would do the system across the board like that. So the highest gold players can only go against the lowest platinum players. You start to see the idea and trend that I'm coming up with. Other changes I would do as well is I would make it so that the matchmaking ranking is public and known to yourself, not just the tribute points. Or to put it another way, the TP should be made available to yourself and should be completely obvious to everyone in the lobby. Say for example it's 40, it should be 40 and your score should be available and known. At the moment only TP is available and known, and that is, well, a problem. I would also change the weighting system so that the matches and the averages are more weighted. The biggest problem I found at the moment is the fact that the weighting can be completely off, and, well, the averages can sometimes be completely off the mark and incorrect, which is probably one of the biggest problems I have seen so far, and I'll be frank, I'm not sure how to weight it properly in order to do it. What I can tell you though is that the current system is, well, deeply flawed and broken, and I have no interest in playing it. The gameplay you're watching in the background, if you're curious, is from a ranked game, in which case I was playing as Athena and my support was, well, okay, I got that completely wrong. I'm playing as Athena as support, and this is a very toxic game, I'm not going to lie about that. That's another problem as well I've got ranked. It's very, very toxic. People can start tilting and blaming people. One thing you will notice as well from the gameplay, I'm not sure if you have, is very much the lack of wards. I don't know why, but people in ranked seem to not want to buy wards. The only group of people I've seen so far that want to buy wards are people that played on PC and have mainly been people that have hundreds of hours on PC and are now at high ranks or divisions when it comes to ranked, such as gold or silver or platinum players. These are the only players I've seen consistently that are buying wards. Everyone else seems to think that wards are, well, useless. Oh dear. Anyway, I've gone on long enough now, and, well, that's some of the things that I would do to help correct and fix rank. In my opinion, I feel that rank is a completely flawed game mode currently in its current form, and needs to be corrected and fixed, but I doubt Hi-Rez is going to do anything about it, which is unfortunate. Oh well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway, and I have rambled on a bit long now anyway. So, good luck, and I hope you have fun if you do play Ranked on the PS4. I haven't. Have a nice day. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.